Mm-hmm.
I think he took his parking spot, so he may have to make the block.
I did take his parking spot. I think it might have seemed like a gesture of goodwill.
Yes.
It didn't have his name on it, though.
Somebody stole my parking spot.
Just said that.
Yeah,
Oh.
it didn't have your name on it.
All right. We're ready. All right, we're going to call the March 15th, 2022 meeting of the Downtown Development District to order. Oh, it's the notice was posted on the 15th, sorry. 16th. This is the notice, not the agenda. Is that the agenda? All right. I'm getting there. All right, call to order, roll call.
Okay. Frank Victoria,
Here.
John DeLongarian,
Here.
John Nsf, Elizabeth Hollywood,
Here.
Abby Reagan,
Here.
Evan Singer,
Here.
Brian Moore.
All right, old business. Approval of the February 2022 financial report.
If I may, Michelle and I met with Mr. Donnell earlier this week and talked about how information flows from, I guess, from us to the city, to him, and we got a really good understanding of that, and we're going to make some recommendations to the board in the coming months on how we track this financial information. But one quick thing Michelle and I talked about on the first page here, that under our current assets, there's a Nsf Check Receivable. It's a bad check that was written to, I mean, no one knew who the remitter was. We didn't know. This is a very old check, and I think it requires board approval to just write that off and remove it from our books. I was going to recommend we, in an effort to clean up our books,
What year was it from, doing
Yeah.
that?
it was very old.
So this one on file, I believe Laura said was from 2018.
I took a bad check when I first opened Ruby, and I went through all the process, and it took, I think it was either 4 or 5 years. I think it was 5 years, and I actually did get the money back for it. So it just took that long because there's a process that the district attorney has to go through. So I don't know if we did that, but if we did file that, then we might need to leave it open. Nobody knows.
I
We
assume
don't
there'd
know,
be a
like,
record of
which
that if,
loan it attaches to or any, like.
Oh, it goes to, it's attached to a loan, or was it a check that was written for something else?
You don't have a copy of the check or anything, do you?
I don't have a copy of the check.
How much is it for?
It's $126.85.
$126,085?
$126.
Yeah.
And do we,
It might be worth just calling the district attorney and
Yeah.
ask if there's any record of it, because it seriously did take that long, but the marshal actually came in with a check plus interest for me.
yeah, I would just, the difference between what we're talking, and yours is, you were hyper aware of what was going on with that. I think no one knows.
We don't know
and
what
I
the
could
check
tell,
is
like,
for.
where this was from, who it was for. Based on all that, that was the recommendation, but.
Just check on whether or not there's some complaint that we filed with the city police, and
No, it would be with the district attorney. There is a bad check division.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but you're trying to find, like, it, if the DA's office doesn't have it, check with the sheriff's office and city also, just to make sure if they can. I mean, there's,
We can just ask, and if there's no record, then, yeah, absolutely take it off.
because it's too late to sue on it now.
Yep.
And then the other outstanding item is the revolving loan that was for Scott's Signage properties. They've had a remaining balance of $180.47 for about 2 years, and I believe that that discrepancy of the reason they called the city for a final payout on their loan balance, and then the city provided the balance that they had, but had not yet, I guess, these are likely like processing fees, all the fees to finish and file out the loan.
Recording
So-
costs.
Yeah, so and this came to our attention, Evan and I's attention when we met with our CPA, David Neal. So, this has been outstanding as well, so, if you'd like me to further investigate that one, I can, but when I spoke with Laura of the city about both of these, you know, she had recommended that before, they had done some of the work on their end, but I can provide the work that we've done so far, so you can make a determination of when or if we write that off.
So do we think it's owed, or do we think it's a miscalculation? Like, we think actually it is truly owed?
I think it's partially on us for not, maybe for not having our revolving loan process as streamlined as it could have been. So I think they directly called the city and inquired about their loan balance. And, I guess if we would have had, that information to them in advance, we would have been able to add those court fees in and would have been able to give them the proper amount. But I would say it may be a mistake on our part, because he was under the impression that he paid out the loan, but
I understand if there was a mistake in terms of what was communicated to him. I'm just saying, we don't think this is a miscalculation on our end. We just think we think it's actually owed.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Is it too late to go ask,
No, that's why, I mean, I think we ought to, I mean, let's
make contact?
make contact, ask. I mean, I don't think we ought to just, I mean, if there was a mortgage, we probably had a mortgage on it. So, I mean, we released it. If we gave them a payoff to release the mortgage, we definitely had to do that. But I don't know that, I don't know. We'll have to look at it. If we released it, then we released it. But I don't know that necessarily giving them the payoff of the mortgage is the same as saying that we're hooked on that.
So I'll provide the documentation of the work to support investigation that's been provided so far.
I move to approve the financial reports.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Frank Victoria,
Yes.
Don Algerian,
Yes.
Mark Sanchez, Elsa Hollywood,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer,
Yes.
Brian Hall.
Approval of the February 16th, 2022 minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as submitted.
Was there any comment or discussion beforehand? Okay. Is there,
I'll second.
all right.
Frank Victoria,
Yes.
Don Algerian,
Yes.
Mark Sanchez, Elsa Hollywood,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer,
Yes.
Brian Hall.
The next topic is the feed and seed roof and dumpster update. Just, the roof is done yet or not?
So, there's a few items. The dumpster has been remedied. It's no longer there. It's been picked up. I'm assuming that Fritz or one of his contractors came and they hauled off the excess lumber that was on top of the dumpster. So once I realized that, I called Stranco. They picked it up, no problem. The roof, the tin that was flapping is no longer flapping, but I haven't been able to inspect the inside to see if it's still leaking. You will see in your packet, under old business, on the back page is an email, that was, that Fritz sent to us as a, I guess, friendly reminder. I'm not quite sure, but I felt it was important to bring it to the board's attention. Whenever we asked him to take care of the dumpster, he was not happy about it. So, you can see kind of his stance on the situation and how we move forward from that with him and other opportunities of using this property. So I just wanted that to be available for the board to see. Cassie, Frank, and John Signage were CC'd on all these communications and assisted with navigating that situation.
I know we need to, are we ever having our board,
Work
is it-
session?
Hmm?
Like a work session?
Yeah, because we need to figure out what we're going to do, and if we're going to do something, we need to pull them in and have a discussion, because we may have alienated them to the point where they don't want to participate.
John Signage sent an email directly to me. I know he's not here, but he did mention that responded to this email, so it may be an opportunity to try to open that door and, get an in-person meeting, Zoom, what have you. So he recommended sometime in early April. If we feel like we need a work session with the board before we hold that meeting, whatever the guidance that you guys want to kind of provide of a strategy to approach them with. I do want to say though, if you read his email, I guess the facts are a little unclear, because he is essentially saying that we should have been responsible for all the storm damage and that we should have commercial property insurance, but in our lease it doesn't say that we are supposed to have commercial property insurance. It's not specifically said in our lease. It does say that to have liability insurance and insurance on the improvements, but we all know that we've never touched the building. We haven't made any improvements on the building. So there's, I guess, some discrepancies in how he sees things versus how.
I don't want to continue this into too much more detail because it is a ongoing contract matter at this point. We don't know where or what direction this is going to go into ultimately. And so unless there's something that we need to address or discuss now, I'd rather not get any further into specifics of the.
Do I have direction to meet the board for a work session to discuss this matter?
I think I spoke to John about this, and actually I've spoken to Elspeth a little bit about this too. I think we need to, and I don't necessarily know that it has to be the whole board. In fact, that might make it more unwieldy if more of the board wants to be involved in it. I'm not opposed to that either. But I think we need to figure out, to start with, where we are in terms of the DDD's obligations under this lease before we move from there.
So recommended.
Talk to John. John Ignatius. That's my
Your task.
thought on it. No, well, I guess it can be. I was trying to delegate it, but, yeah.
So we were supposed to have had our workshop to kick off the year where this was a huge topic of conversation. We had options, we had the proposal that was submitted. So we were all, as a group, supposed to talk about it. I know there's a lot of difference of opinion on the board as to how we should proceed or if we should proceed with it. So I think it's worthy of everybody's input before we make a decision.
And I didn't say before we're making a decision. What I said was that I think we need to have a better understanding of where we are in terms of the DDE's obligations and fulfillment of those under the lease before the board tries to make a decision.
So can we schedule a work session with every?
Yeah, I do think, and that was originally, we wanted to get at least a few members together to see, I guess, get our footing in the right place to move forward, and I forget who agreed to do it.
It was John, Cassie, and.
But we were supposed to do, we were just
Yeah,
supposed to see if anybody was willing to have a conversation.
Yes,
And we were going
on
to
their-
have
on
our
their end.
board session.
Yes,
We were gonna do that after we had our group
yeah,
session.
yeah, that makes, yeah.
To all go through it and have the opportunity, because we had a quick presentation of the proposal, but we kind of pushed that
Yeah.
to our workshop. And we didn't have that because the council got delayed in their vote of approving us, and then Chelsea had to leave for maternity leave, and so we never had our workshop.
Yeah, and we had met with the Small Business Administration regarding this prior to that, and then, and their input on where. or
So
how-
we've never had our.
Yeah, I do think, is it possible to meet before April?
I mean, that would be next week or the week after, based on everyone else's
I
schedule.
I'm
can't-
sorry, I'm before the April meeting.
For the April board meeting?
Yeah. Is that what you were thinking? Is that what you, or?
I mean, Don, Ignatius was just
Oh, okay.
obviously
That was
timeline
his,
can be
that was,
amended
yeah,
to what we need.
okay.
Why don't we, can you do a poll and see first week of April? That's before Easter. Easter's the 17th.
Yeah, if we're
right.
needing to wait on John, then, yeah, whatever fits
And that
better.
gives
Wait, are we-
y'all some time to look at contract
Yeah.
obligations.
Okay, are we
before
talk-
we have a work session.
Are you talking about our orientation thing, or are you talking about something
Just-
specific to
I
this?
don't know if we want to do a whole orientation at this point.
No,
but
all of us-
We need to have a work session to
Yeah,
talk
originally
about-
we said that all of us are returning members, there wasn't really a need for the orientation, but a work session regarding this project, I think, is what
Okay,
is needed.
all right, well then, we don't need to have that, let's just try to schedule it, okay, all right. I think there's, before we get into new business, I think there's an announcement somebody wants to make from the public. Okay.
On the proper announcement. Jessica Shirey, 209 East Thomas Street. I'm on the board for the Hammond Barbecue. I have gone down to all of the businesses individually, the ones that were open, and I was able to get into, as a liaison, downtown liaison, and just met with everybody. We are doing things a little differently for the barbecue this year. There's not going to be it is March the 25th, Friday the 25th, and Saturday the 26th. There's not going to be a pro side. Originally, just to give you guys a heads up for the future, this year we had plans to move the barbecue from downtown to Z Murray Park. In order to, the footprint has just gotten bigger than the space. And so that was our plan. We had every intention of doing that. And then, just like all the other curveballs that we've been thrown in the last couple of years, Ida came. And our intention was, like I said, to use the park and Reimers Field for part of it and that sort of thing. Those big rigs that come in have to be on flat surface. That's kind of the reason why. Ponchatoula High School has to use Z Murray Park for a lot of their sports, their activities. Their baseball games, I don't know to what extent, whatever, that's their business. We can't use Z Murray. So we're still on the Kansas City barbecue circuit and sanctioned event, which is a good thing. We didn't lose that, but we're not having the pro teams this year. So that means that what was normally on the west side the east side of the tracks and down to Robert Street, I believe it is, all the way to Morris, is not going to be utilized. So the east side of the tracks is not utilized at all. We are going to be utilizing from Thomas Street, right across from the DDD office, down to the parking lots to Hanson Crossing. And then, of course, the grassy area in between Hanson Crossing and Coleman, and then on the other side, the south side of Coleman, to the trees, to tree line. We stop before the trees just because we don't mess with the trees. It's come up before. So, anyway, that's where we're going to be. Want to invite everybody out, obviously. So hopefully, we'll know more by end of June, July for next year. So what the plan is, as far as moving to Z Murray Park, hopefully, if we're going to be continuing it the same way, like I said.
So y'all are trying to get, by the way, I like it, I enjoy it downtown, but I would actually love to see it in Z Murray Park with it. I mean, I just think it'd be neat if y'all could get it in there. So is it just y'all are waiting to see, you just was scheduling, like y'all didn't claim it fast enough to get it for this year, or y'all aren't sure?
Well, I mean, it's goodwill to give up the area that we were going to have it for our event for the high school, the local high school, to be able to utilize the parks.
Ponchatoula's high school
Or-
baseball field was damaged significantly.
Oh, it was damaged because of the,
Right.
okay, so they don't
So
normally
to
use
Ida.
it.
No.
They're just,
Ida, okay,
we,
okay. So it was-
yeah, we're
I
allowing,
understand. Okay.
the city's
Okay.
allowing them to use it, and that's,
This
yeah.
year because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't get that out of
Right.
the first thing, okay.
I think
So-
there's a chance to run by the radio station, but if you do have any flyers, bring you, I can post them
I-
in our office.
Yeah, or Jessica, do you have like a
I ran
little,
out of posters.
do you have like a little map of the parking or something that we could put together to where you, at least you put it online?
I will get something emailed to you. Yes, and you were not in the office because you hadn't gotten in. It was like the week before that you were back in the regular office, and I spent all day, walking around. So I didn't go to the station where you were that day, and then it fell off my radar. But yeah, so, like I said, we're gonna be, the craft vendors will be in the parking mall between Thomas and Morris. The parking should not be, if anything, it would be just Friday. As y'all know, understand, and like you know, host events and things like that, closing anything, it seems like it's closed sooner than it should be. However, we know how difficult that is whenever we have to get ready to go and people haven't moved their cars. So we're calling it Friday all day, that parking mall will be closed, but we're not jerks either, okay? So, just throwing that out there. We're actually hoping, we're hoping to get all the vendors into half of that parking lot. But just because of logistics, we've claimed the parking lot because of, you know, it's already gone through city council and all of that stuff.
And we can help share, like Dr. Young said, those closures that you have, but also, you know, sending things out. So just let us know, because I know we know how hard it is to clear those parking lots.
Yeah, and we're gonna have everything, you know, we're a pretty well-oiled machine at this point. It is the longest running barbecue in the state of Louisiana. We've raised over $500,000 for local charities.
So are we planning, we should be back on the pro circuit next year, or we don't know yet?
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, we were planning, like I said, we were planning on it this year. But, you know,
Good.
pivot. Everybody has.
Well, thank you. We're looking forward to it, I think. And
Okay. Do y'all have any questions about? No. I'm not going to name all the charities because I always leave some out, but,
Just let us know how I can help with the.
okay.
all right.
I'll get all the stuff emailed to you, and I'm going to drop off some posters. I've hit everywhere downtown.
Do we have a poster?
Down Thomas Street and kind of branched off, you know, that way. So, anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure Sam would like a poster too. His office is down there. We don't have one, do we? Well, when you get one, Michelle gets one, we'll get one in our building.
Look, drop it off to me, I can distribute to the board members.
Okay, and it starts, so we'll start setting up on Friday. They'll start bringing in their things, set up their tents and stuff. And the band starts at 4:30, so it'll really be kicked off by then. Like, we're not gonna, there's a cutoff time where we don't allow, you know, vehicles to come through.
Good.
At that point. The stage will be by the steakhouse parking lot, same as usual, so.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, new business, Railroad Park.
Good evening, Roy Dufresh. Give you a quick park update, and then there's a change order we need to discuss, and I'm going to touch on some of those items real quickly. Things are moving along really nicely. I think within the next 10 days or so, we will have the majority of the big items completed at the park. We've had a delay in the engraved pavers until the first week in April. That'll be part of our change order. I'm just kind of giving these things as part of that. Additionally, the approval of the mural and the Hammond letters that will be painted cannot go before the Hammond Historic District until April 20th. That's their next meeting. So the painting of the letters is part of the contractor's responsibility. So the change order will be extended to April. We're looking at substantial completion around April 22nd. I think our artists will be in town, or hopefully will be in town soon thereafter to paint the mural. In that vein, I think the board is aware of the conversation about the letters, and just so Ralph knows and everyone knows, I spoke with the fabricator of the letters. From the very early intentions of the project, it was the DDD's idea to paint them so that they could possibly be painted throughout the year with different themes and over the letters. Whether that's still an option or not, I'm not really getting into that. But just to kind of technically, I'm not a metal expert, but Shane Bardwell, who fabricated the letters, indicated that metal is a mill finish aluminum. What you've seen on like Airstream trailers and wheels on cars, that's an aluminum alloy, much more expensive. Shane said you could possibly buff them or texture them, but what mill finish aluminum does in the exterior over time develops a powdery finish to it, and he didn't recommend it. He thought you would be disappointed in how it weathered over time, and it would require some maintenance. And so the type of painting that we're prepping and the type of painting will be, and that will be coating with the letters should hold up and be very nicely. But he recommended against us trying to do something different to letters since it was this mill finish type of aluminum.
Airstream would be like nickel in it, would have nickel in it probably, huh?
Yeah, something like, yeah. You'd have to nickel them or chrome them or do something. It would be, it was kind of cost prohibitive for what, like I said, our early intentions were to paint them from the get-go. So, I would recommend that we go with his recommendation, which is to go ahead and finish off like we were going to do that. So what will happen within the next few days, once the weather gets good, we'll probably be priming those letters in preparation for painting them. But we can't paint them the final color, which we really don't know now because we're having the artist work with us to select that color, which will go before Historic District in April. So, hopefully Historic District will approve everything on the April meeting. We can have those letters painted within a day or so. After that, we'll have them staged to do that. And then we can open the park. Basically, we're going to substantially complete it on the 22nd, and we'll open the park, pull the fences down, and open it immediately for the live painting event with the mural and that kind of thing. Real quick, I want to touch on the engraved pavers one more time. Just Michelle and I walked because she and John Daniel looked at where we had originally selected the site, which is right in front of the stage. And because all the red bricks run in the same direction, it's kind of, I think we all three agree now that it's kind of an awkward place to have them. So what we're doing is we're reconsidering moving them into one of the brick bands that hasn't been done yet, which is the band right when you come through the mid-block crossing the railroad tracks. It would be the one on your left. So it would be the southernmost one. I think we all agree that's a better location. So that we'll proceed with that. Any questions related to update? Sorry? The bench, I'm
Okay.
I think Ralph wants to.
okay, Ralph.
Just briefly, if I may, I'm not making a big deal about this or appearing at any more meetings or anything. It's just that it struck me as I looked at those letters that they, just the reflectivity and everything else is great. Now, as I understand it, but he's the expert, like the Airstream trailers and all, that's mill finish aluminum that comes out of the manufacturing process. It's polished and then it's clear coated with a heavy duty clear coat such that they could be kept that way. My other thought that I mentioned was that it seems to me as you're driving in town and you see these sparkly letters that Hammond really jumps out at you. And I thought, just my own personal opinion, that if you paint them a color, they might even, if the mural artist, they're going to fade into the mural, and it seems to me that Hammond is what's prominent.
Well,
So that's all I have
just
to
to
say.
tell you, her intention, we've had several conversations with Brit, and we've had a lot of public comment, and her intentions with picking the color is going to be something that contrasts what's happening behind it on the mural wall, so it doesn't get lost in the mural. Okay.
Is there chrome paint?
Can we
I know
paint
there's
them
like
the
chrome
same color that they
spray paint. Is there a chrome?
Well, if, what Ralph was saying there though is I think the Airstream metal is different. I think it's a nickel, I think it's an alloy that's blended with a little more nickel or something in it than probably what this has. But having said that, if it's a color now whatever color it is now, if we clear coat it, it should stay whatever color it is now, regardless of what it's made out of.
Yeah, so I looked at it, and on the inside, Frank, you'll see like the stamping of the metal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Because it wasn't intended.
It's going to take a lot of prep work to get them to
Yeah,
the point where you could even polish them or brush them.
Yeah, and I even looked at it, and I don't. You can still see the welded seams. I mean, you would. Again, if there's chrome paint, I think that would last, obviously, because I don't know what that's costly.
We have to have a chrome, like I do a bumper.
Well, what I'm saying is there's a paint that,
There is an additional public comment, if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On our live stream, Landon Keats from East Robert Street would epoxy the metal allow for a coating that would keep your windows and doesn't cost.
Epoxy.
Epoxy, could it be epoxy? That's basically a clear coat. I mean, I assume it's what he's talking about, a clear epoxy.
But if you go like John, y'all haven't been up and close to the letters. They're not, they have, the welds have been sanded and
Yeah, from,
Something you just want to clear cut, you'd have to really protect it, and I'd have to do a little bit more research on that and see.
yeah, you can see, like, for instance, Frank, you talk about, imagine taking a sander
No,
to,
no, I know a machine,
to an
yeah.
Airstream.
Right. That's what I'm
And
saying.
what
It's
it
not
would-
the same.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, look, from afar, it does look great, and I do think the shine of it looks good. I mean, if we can find something to either paint on it
Well,
or,
you could powder coat them. I mean, you could always powder coat them.
well, I mean, I think he likes the
Chrome, well, I mean,
natural-
and there's,
They would polish, I mean, they can be polished without any, it takes a little bit of effort, but you polish them once, you clear coat them, and then just like with paint, because it is a paint.
Yeah.
It's just a very clear paint.
There's still, like I said, though, there's still stamping.
what timeline are we on? What
Size.
timeline are we on to actually painting them at this point?
Well,
Yeah.
After April the
we
22nd.
need to prime them before we paint them, and that was going to be done soon, but our timeline is, we can't paint the letters the final color till after the 20th
So over a
of
month from
April.
now.
or
And no
April,
matter
Hammond.
what we do, it all has to be approved by the Historic Commission.
Yes.
Whether we
Yeah,
leave
whether we
them.
chrome them or whatever we do to them.
So can we get a price to polish and coat the,
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
do that.
so we can look at the.
Yeah, we have a
what it
little
would
time.
Cost
Sure.
us to do that.
We'll just hold off on priming them.
Who was going to paint it?
I'm sorry?
Do we,
Contractor.
the
We have a
contractor?
painting, the general contractor has a painting contractor that's doing all the painting.
I'd
uh,
ask them what their opinion would
Yeah,
be on
yeah, I
a
can do that.
natural.
Yeah, I'll do that.
But let's get a price to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Ask them what the
And
value
upkeep.
is to paint it, to
Okay.
prime it.
Yeah, I can
paint
get
it,
that value, sure.
And then what the cost would
Right.
be to,
I'll do that.
How much do these things weigh each? Do you
They're not real heavy.
Are they just bolts down?
They're
Where-
down in the ground because, I mean,
But-
they're bolted, they're in concrete. They won't
But-
come out of there.
What I'm saying is it, like, to do
Hydro
that,
dipping.
the easiest way to do that would probably be to move them to a shop to do that. Is it 4 bolts on each letter?
They have struts that go into the letters. Because look, when we designed these things, we knew people were going to be climbing on them and pushing on them and all that. So they're designed and they're anchored in concrete. They cannot be moved now. They are in place for,
So to polish them would have to be done on site?
have to be done on site.
That's
So that's going to factor into the cost.
Yeah, that's not.
let's just see what
I'll
it
do that.
I thought you were
I'll
going to
do
say
that.
hydro.
Yeah, we have time.
Huh?
I
Yeah.
thought you were going to mention hydro dipping as an option.
Oh, like, yeah, that's something else too. But no, I was just talking, because I was thinking if they were just 4 bolts on the ground where you unbolt them, you pack them up and especially if they're not heavy.
They're solid. These things are,
Yeah, you can,
I could probably climb on it.
yeah, you could. I mean, they're made to, I mean, you're not going to pull them out of there with a truck. I'm telling you, they're made.
Well,
right.
yeah.
Don't give
if
me
you
my
can- if you
ideas.
can get
Frank's
a-
truck could probably pull
Yeah.
them out.
So just to recap, I will meet with the painting contractor, discuss that with them, get a price from them, get a price for what the painting was originally, and we can do that at the April meeting.
Yeah, it's probably the metal guy, the guy that machined.
Our meeting is before the Historic Commission, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes. We'll
Jessica,
be able to make a decision that night, for sure.
Okay.
Were you going to say something?
I was just asking if anybody had looked into like they do, like the ceramic coating or like, wrap like they do for vehicles.
That's kind
were talking
of,
about,
that's,
wasn't
the hydro coating is what one thought I thought, and then,
I mean, it may be a little more expensive up front, but your maintenance.
and they do make a wrap, they make a shiny wrap that might be an option too. I don't know how durable.
Yeah, how it's,
I mean, it goes on cars. I mean, yeah, I've seen a car,
but it probably has a lifetime that has to be replaced over time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna- I mean, anything, yeah. I mean, it'll.
Yeah, well, let's discuss it at the April meeting. I'll have all the data for you at
Okay.
that time.
Thank you.
Just one more comment. I want to thank Roy and all of you all for the park. It's mind-boggling. It's really great, really beautiful.
yeah.
The other thing, I don't know if you all have ever watched the recording of your meetings. They're great, it's wonderful you do it, I think, but if you don't speak into the mic, you know, you really can't hear it when you watch the recording, so. Thank you all for all you do, and thanks for considering it, and that's all I'm gonna say about the list.
Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback.
Yes,
Thank you
thanks
for
for
your
bringing it to our
feedback,
attention.
Ralph. We need that. We do.
All right, we need to approve this change order? Are you
You
asking
want
for us
to,
to?
you want to know a little bit about it, or do you just want to approve it? I need to probably explain it to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are 3 items attached to the change order, and they're labeled B, C, D, and I'll tell you about A in a minute. A was something we pulled out, so you have a number for later on. We talked about the bronze plaque. We got a price on the bronze plaque that will be kind of a dedication plaque that will go in the courtyard part of the park. And then I am suggesting, along with David Benton, that we do some little signage in the landscaping to just to tell people to keep out. It's only like $400 and some for those signage. The plaque is the remainder of the money. It'll have all the city councilmen, the mayor, it'll have Hammond Railroad Park, it'll have the Hammond Railroad logo, it'll have you guys' names, all that kind of thing. I don't have a shop drawing on that yet because I can't get to the shop drawing stage until we approve it and they send them some money. So for $2,640, that's about an 8-week item. Electrical, when the live oak tree blew over, we were left with 4 lights because 4 lights were going to go on that tree. Then we put 6 crepe myrtles in. Last Tuesday night, we did a lighting adjustment where we fired all the lights up in the park, and it looks absolutely amazing. But we were short 2 lights on 2 of the crepe myrtles. We tried to adjust them around. I think we'd be making a mistake not to go ahead and buy 2 more lights and get this done right. And then, just for your information, there's a little bit of cost associated with moving. We had the electrical engineer had put 2 lights on either side of the fountain in those little small planters, which I thought was overkill. We made the right decision to take 2 out. We have those 2 lights. We're going to put them on the back of the stage wall that light that tree behind La Coretta, because part of it's lit from the letters which are lit and from the fountain. So there's a few $100s in there just to hook those lights up. So that's $1,800. And then because we can't be assured of the delivery on the engraved pavers, our contractor's given us price. He will go get them the day they tell us they're ready. They have been delayed to the first week of April. That pretty much constitutes the change order amount of $5,411. And we will be increasing the time by 38 days. So the new substantial completion date will be April 22nd, 2022.
Light, just you're comfortable with the amount of light that's there? Because
Yes.
again, this is a park where, I know it probably is theoretically supposed to close at some point. I mean, it's right in town. There's going to be people in it.
The lights
It's
are
always-
on all night. They're LED, they're very inexpensive to run. I told Michelle the only place that was dark, and we'll need to check this out, the bathroom wall of the DDD building was dark. There's 3 can lights up in the soffit that they don't have bulbs in them, so we just need to get bulbs in them and make sure they're tied in somewhere, which I'm sure they are. That's the only dark spot in the whole park. I think when you see it, and I'll invite you guys in about 2 to 3 weeks to come meet one night. We'll fire all the lights up, give y'all kind of a preview of walkthrough and see how nice it really is with all the lights and all on. But I think people will feel very comfortable in there at night. I don't think there'll be any concerns about, we have cameras hooked up on the DDD building. You may want to consider doing cameras on the other end of the park because these cameras do not cover that end, where the fountain is and where the stage is. That's something you might want to consider.
So if someone was trying to hide in the park and there's a policeman or somebody driving by, they should be able to see
Yes.
anybody? Okay.
Yes. And the area behind all of our utility area behind the mural wall, behind the stage and behind the fountain wall is a locked gate. There's only one access point, which the city will pull a lock on there with a combination and give it to the city people where they can all go in there. So no one can get in there and hide. So, I think people are going to feel really safe in there at night. It's very well lit. So that's the change order. We'll talk about, if you want to vote on that. And
Does anybody have any comment or discussion on this, or are we ready to?
I move we approve change order number 5 for Railroad Park.
I'll second that.
Ricky Vittorio,
Yes.
John Daniel Garian,
Yes.
Alex Nicias, Elizabeth Hollywood,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer, Brian Wong.
Guess I better wait for the count, right?
Do what?
I said, I guess I better wait for them to finish counting votes, huh?
Before we go to the pay app real quick, I just wanted to mention one thing that in the change order, I said there was an A item that I didn't include in the change order. We found out this week or last week late that the benches have been delayed because of, whatever. So it looks like July. And Michelle and I talked about reaching out to the people who bought benches, let them know there's going to be a delay. But what I did, I had talked to Lacey, I don't know if I mentioned this before, about the city doing the benches. She says, no way. So the benches will be shipped to the city yard out here at Hammond by the airport. And I got a price from the contractor, which they will honor in July, even though the contract will be closed out, of $2,932 to put the benches in. Now, that means that you have to assemble the benches, install them through the pavers into the concrete deck below that. And then we have to remember we have 8x8 pavers that go with each bench with the same information that's on the back of the bench. So for some reason, if that plaque on the back of the bench was to be destroyed or lost, we still have it memorialized on the ground below it. So there's a little bit of work. So I just wanted to tell you that's out there. I have the quote. I'll give it to you. So when that happens, we'll be good to go. If you, it's not, you don't have to vote on that now. It's just a number for y'all to have in your budgeting.
So that wasn't in their contract to begin with? That was going to be an ad
The
all
benches were
along?
separate. We took those out,
Okay.
yeah.
And we thought the city might do it at the time, and they,
Yeah, and Lacey said, don't count on them doing it. They will do it wrong, and you won't be happy, and so, just. So, anyway,
All right. Well, I was going to argue that, but I guess I'll just accept that and move
Well,
on. All right.
if she says that, she's pretty confident in knowing that that's not going to be a good thing.
Okay.
Just to kind of recap really quickly, completion date, April 22nd. We will have a certificate of substantial completion hopefully that day, 45-day lien period. Sometime in June, first week of June, we should get that clear lien certificate back. The June meeting, we'll be able to pay their retainage minus anything, because the plaques and the bronze plaque and those other plaques are 8 to 10 weeks. Don't know if they're going to be here for June or installed. If they're not, we will have a value. We have the value of both of them, and that would be withheld from the retainage.
Okay, so are you going to be able, that's, you might have just answered my question. So if the benches,
The benches are not part of the,
right, are they going to be, but the contract's going to be closed out. So they're just, it's going to be a little separate side contract we're going to have with them, so it has no bearing on
Yeah, I would
closing
say-
out this project or retainage or anything. Okay.
and
all right.
that's why I did it that way, not including this change order, because we'd have to
Okay.
extend the thing on out and leave
You were
forever.
right.
I just want to kind of close this thing out hopefully in June and be done with it. And then they were nice enough to honor it. They've done a lot of extra things. They're going to be putting in the little library you'll hear about a little later. They're going to install that for nothing, and, you know.
Is there any reason not to just approve that now and just be done with it? I mean, we want the benches installed.
The price is not going to change. They're going to honor it.
Huh? We're on a calendar year, aren't we?
No,
We're on that fiscal year too?
July, well, the end of it is the end of June, so if it's done before June, it should be in the same, but if it goes into July.
We'd have to,
Why don't we just wait until it's time to
Okay.
do it, just in case there's
I
something
also,
to change?
I guess I think with the value of the invoices as well, I guess it may not, I don't know, it may not need board approval, but since it's 2,900, you know, we've had expenses where we've paid, I guess, without board approval, but certainly for everyone's planning to understand, we do have the budget for that, to allocate for that.
All right, well, if we don't need to approve it now, we're good. What's next?
I'll bring you that bid.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Yeah.
formalized bid, so. Unless there's any questions, we'll go on to the pay application number 7. I think you've all seen it. Unless there's any questions about it, I recommend you approve it.
I move we approve pay app number 7,
Hold on.
Railroad Park.
Was there any comment or discussion on that? Okay.
I'll second.
Frank DiVittorio,
Yes.
John Gino Gurian,
yes.
Onyx Nishis, Elizabeth Hollywood,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer. Yes. Ryan Long.
All right, history exhibit work group update.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I just went ahead and printed out some of the items that the history exhibit work group has put together so far. I was sick for the last meeting, so thankfully Roy kind of helped facilitate it. Right now, the group is kind of just working on identifying concepts that each of the 7 plaques would embody. So we're very still in the preliminary stages of this, and still have a lot of groundwork to do before we're at all ready to present the narrative or any sort of decision making around that. So we're still in much conversation stage and making some decisions around even what to kind of include on each of those. But I just decided to show this to you all so you can kind of see the conversation that has taken shape thus far. And if any of you would like to attend any of those, we need to establish a future meeting schedule. But so far, the group has been sort of energized around coming up with concepts and are excited about seeing this be a feature in the park.
My only comment is just make sure there's plenty of public input, opportunities, and everything. I don't want anybody complaining about, they didn't have the opportunity.
Right. We're just on that, I'm on that committee as well. We're planning on, at the next meeting, and I know that Michelle wasn't there for the other one, but doing, and would definitely welcome anybody's input and attendance, that'd be great. But much like the work sessions that many of our groups have, we're planning on doing some, more visual planning, starting some of that in the shape of seeing the plaques and what makes sense.
And we've talked about opportunities, whatever we have prepared, maybe at the time we have the grand opening at Railroad Park, if we have huge sticky notes at each of those columns.
Right, to get the
maybe-
public input, like charrettes on a.
Right,
I
so.
love that.
So we've got plenty of ideas. I think when we last spoke, we kind of felt like the group that we had so far kind of needed to set a bit more of sort of direction and guidance, so we're able to clearly get sort of public community, really do community engagement from that point, once we have like at least those.
It's a lot,
Top-
I mean, it's a
top
lot of responsibility when you have like we had discussed, it's a static, it's there. And you don't want to make mistakes or anything on something so there.
Yeah. Thank you for being part of the conversation, Jessica, we appreciate it.
All right. Anything else on that?
You think, I know we want public input on it. You think for the next meeting, maybe put it on the agenda for them to come speak to where it's,
Are they gonna be far enough along the next meeting?
maybe not.
What's the recommendation
He's just asking if we could have somebody come speak at the next meeting.
from the work group?
Yeah,
Sure, I mean,
I guess, how far, I mean, yeah, does that give y'all enough time to where at least we can,
If there's. Yeah, well, if there's something, if there's, I mean, y'all gonna have to use some judgment, I mean, if there's something to report. If not,
Just because of the whole speaker thing. I think that, I'll be glad, and Roy's probably here just as much as you guys at this point. But I don't
we're about to
mind-
make him a adopted member
Yeah.
of the.
Right, honorary member. But I don't mind, either coming, I'll be here anytime.
I mean, that way
the rest of
we're
it.
constantly in discussion and keeping the public informed, especially if we keep doing this,
Yeah, so-
live feed.
This is where we are.
I don't know.
I think that probably where we are and where we're going there's so much
Yeah,
to be able to figure out what do you put
yeah,
on 7 or 9, and how much information do you put on one? It's a lot.
Yeah, no,
So, and we obviously we want to be inclusive of all parts of our city and all, and cultures and whatnot throughout the city. So, it's hard,
Yeah.
It's almost like, you having to pick your favorite child, you don't have, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But it's not, and we'll figure it out, and it's just figuring out it'll find its way.
Okay.
It'll find its way, it's just getting there, so.
Maybe we'll try to set a Saturday morning.
This isn't
Public input
anything
thing
that,
at
we've
some point.
even said that putting a timeline on this is not really feasible. It's not,
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
it won't be years,
Yeah.
but,
Be history.
You
Remember
don't
when
wanna
the
say,
history
okay, well,
project
what-
started?
It
It'll be
wouldn't
one
be
of the
fair to
black
say,
flag.
by April 26th or by May, whatever, can we
Yeah.
have a final? That wouldn't be fair to the project itself, yeah.
they are working on establishing at least, what you can kind of see
Bullet
here,
points,
just,
yeah.
the approach was sort of doing a
Topics.
chronological order, but then selecting topics that would
Yeah.
go on each of those. So then developing the narratives out even further in those key points is kind of the point I think that we would do a very ambitious and needed community outreach strategy with everyone that we have at the table. African American Heritage Museum, the city is part of it, Historic District are on there, so we've got a lot of folks at the table to help us execute that.
I could certainly see railroad fitting under business and industry, but it also might be maybe the railroad itself, since it's next to the railroad and the railroad park. Could be one of them. Anyway, all right. Anything else on that? All right, little library installation.
So you'll see the little library, well, I guess some of the information is here. You'll see a picture of it.
I have a picture of it, yes, the back of it, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
Well, if you
flip the
turn the
page, it goes
page, there's
more.
Yeah,
other
there's more.
pictures. So Katie's dad constructed this I guess a few months ago now, and the Historic District, I submitted an application through them. They approved it today to be installed at Railroad Park, or really next to our office building. We had selected one location, which was kind of by the utilities and breaker box that's in the back of the building, but that's not going to work. So Roy and I talked about installing it on the west side of the building, kind of centering it there, and the contractors are going to help us install that. We're going to purchase a 4x4 post, and we'll get that installed. And Katie's dad has agreed to help us when they maintenance we need it. We just kind of give them a call. So we're incorporating it and taking a responsibility for maintaining the structure itself.
That's like that little one right there.
Yeah, there's one right there on the
Right here
corner,
out the
yeah.
window. Yeah.
There's several around town.
All right.
Okay,
And-
next is the, well, I guess that's actually your job to announce the next.
Yeah,
item.
that was, that's fine. Approval of the contract for selected Railroad Park mural artist, Brit.
So you'll see the contract in your packet. This is a very, it's not very lengthy, so I wanted the board to have a chance to review it for any items that you feel are missing. The dates that are in there fit with the schedule that we've decided and that Roy kind of went over to kind of align with the public input that we're doing for the voting, the final concepts, and then sort of aligning with the project timeline that, like I said, Roy said earlier.
Is there not an AIA contract for this type of work? Or like art? No? Okay.
Artists.
Has Andre seen this?
No, but I can send it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather the city's attorney review it before we, when does this have to be done by, approved by?
Well, she's requesting 50% of payment before she
April 11th.
does the mural, and then 50% after. So I think she said 50% upon having a final concept, which would be sometime early April, and then finishing the mural would be sometime at the end of April. But if we want that, that's what she mentioned would work for her, but if the board has other options for payment, that's up to you all to decide.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that really at all.
I mean, I would understand that she's gonna need to purchase, materials and
Well,
things,
that-
so there's some,
I mean, I didn't read the, I mean, I don't remember what the bid said, but I mean, I don't,
So that 10,000 is all inclusive, including travel, lodging, her time that she would, the money she would need to have to maybe come down here, all the supplies and equipment that would be required to execute the mural in its entirety.
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that she can't have some draws along the way, but I don't know that, I don't know. I mean, if it was me personally doing it, I probably wouldn't do that. Actually, I would not do that, so, I don't know.
I agree. I mean, yeah. If she
I-
doesn't follow what,
She,
I'm not even sure if we
she has
can,
expenses
yeah.
that she's already incurring
everybody does.
to do the work, including coming here to do the work.
I'm not saying
so-
give her nothing. I'm not saying, but I would, an arbitrary $10,000 to start,
No, the total
5,000.
contract is 10.
Fine. Yeah, they want half. I mean,
She's wanting half by April 11th.
I would want Andre's opinion first on that issue and then this contract as a whole. I mean, and I don't know that if that wasn't the terms of the proposal or submissions, I mean, that seems to me to be getting away from, when y'all do the bid request and stuff, is the draw line, is that part of the proposal or request, or is that part of the proposal? Where does that fit into how we normally do those draws on?
It's spelled out in the specifications that it's monthly.
So,
But this is a different entity. This isn't a contractor. This is an artist who's agreed to do this work. It's sort of like to get the cabinets put in my house, I have to pay 50% before they ever start the project. And then I pay the 50% the other 50% when it's done. It's a,
I'll just say this on her benefit.
Yeah.
To her. She, in her original, I think, deal was only like to submit 2. Did you change that?
So,
She's done several and been working a long time in good faith, which, without a contract.
right.
And,
She's been working. She has submitted
yeah,
concepts.
she's been
So-
on several video conferences, public video conferences, so here, so, I don't know, it's your decision, obviously, but I'm saying she's worked in good faith for a long time, and,
It's like a bond.
it's not my money, but
Yeah.
And I doubt it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I've been, this wouldn't be the first time I get outvoted, but I mean, it's, that is, if there were not specifications that there were going to be draws in the bid request and everybody else submits bids that are one thing, it's a lot less yes, it is more burdensome to have to front money on the front end. But if that was what the rules everybody else was playing by, 50% is too much, period. Regardless. But, I don't know. Like I said, I would like to hear, me personally, I would like to hear Andre's thoughts on any upfront money. I'm also not 100% certain that without that being in the specifications, whether or not we actually can pay in advance as a public body, without work being done.
Think about that.
So this to me needs to be, Andre needs to look at this contract and see, and our proposal request, and comment on this contract in compliance with it, as well as our payment schedule.
Pull the applications and see what, I don't remember if they addressed payment at all in the RFPs.
so the RFP, I can pull it up right now. It did not spell out any contract items or payment terms. It just simply stated the amount of money that we would pay for the mural. I'm pulling up the RFP right now.
Was there a requirement for like being insured and bonded and that sort of thing does cover, if you need to, it's a lot easier to sue somebody that
Has a performance bond.
Yeah, other than, and I don't know what
I don't know who would have done
at
it.
this amount, I don't know what
than a
thresholds
private person,
we've reached, and there's a lot of questions about that.
So Michelle, maybe submit it to ask Andre if he'll take a look, and then maybe reach out to Brit and ask her if,
Let's ask John. He's commissioned an artist before, I think, to do something. It's no different than,
I've commissioned artists to do things. You always pay them part before the work is
what part is
complete.
it?
It just depends on what they need.
I'll just say that this is what she does. She's not like an artist that paints small stuff. She's a
Yeah.
mural artist.
Yeah.
She's worked with many, many states and many, many cities. I'm sure this is probably her standard agreement, and obviously other people have done it.
Her cost and paint might exceed.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that, but also Louisiana does have laws that are different from other states too, in terms of how public entities handle money and
Yeah.
things. So
Oh,
I
I don't know if y'all want to make a motion, but
No, I agree. I say let's send it to Andre just to verify that
I can do that.
this.
all right. Discussion of the mural concept, Brit Flood teleconference.
So unfortunately, Brit could not make the meeting. She is very upset about that. She had some family matter come up. But she did send over updated concepts, taking input from the design committee meeting, the 2 input sessions that we've had at the farmer's market, the evening input session. Let me see if I can make this zoom a bit more.
For the record, I don't like where the screen is.
Okay, I don't know what I can
You know
do
who
with that.
Talk to the city council about
Yeah.
that.
Well, it was over there, and they moved it at some point.
I think for the,
Oh, because the camera, it wasn't in line
yeah,
with
so
the
you got
camera. if it's
you got a
so-
camera right at
Yeah.
you and right at
So we need
here,
a,
and then
we need a
another
second
one
one.
at the
Maybe we can
podium,
get a
yeah.
second screen.
So she's taken input from all of the, from our survey and those input sessions, those in-person input sessions that we've had. I would like to read the email that she asked me to read. Let me pull that up on my phone so I can look at more than one screen at one time.
I do actually like that one.
I know, I really like
So she said, please see 2 updated concept sketches attached. I'm really loving how concept A is coming along, and this is
Is that the broken, like, hold on, go back to that one second.
this one.
I said I wouldn't, is that like a piece of the metal coming up, like the weathering?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Where?
That's whatever you want it to be.
I think that's a leaf. Are you
What do
talking
you
about?
think it is, Frank?
No,
Is
no, no,
that-
yeah, let's go on, I don't want it, I can.
That's Thomas Street.
I can interpret this abstract art later, let's go.
This is concept B. I'll bring up concept A first. Concept A is coming along. I've made a few changes overall based on the last meeting and community feedback. Made select petals of the flower area to be solid shapes of color and added extra line work to make the side more abstract feeling. Added the 1117 number to the specific reference of the Panama Limited train that recently came through Hammond. Y'all didn't know that. I thought that was a cool recommendation. Lowered the oak tree into the building ground line. Added more purple iris and hints of yellow iris. Added more bold accents of green and gold to represent Southeastern without trying to be too literal. She said she's thinking about other ways to incorporate that. Changes that she'd still like to make, and she's open to more. Based on the ideas of community feedback, it would be fun to hide hints of local bird and animal species within the flowers section of the mural. Can add in the train depot building as well, maybe on the right side of the composition. And in the middle of the street, some ideas are to extend the oak tree roots down to the center of the mural, or to extend railroad tracks through the center of the mural.
Yeah, or even the tree into the railroad tracks or whatever, like, they're almost lined up already, but, all right.
Cool.
Any other?
Concept A,
So this is concept A.
this is concept
Okay.
And the other one was B?
A, and this is B.
Okay. I guess I like A better.
She's done a lot of work.
I do too,
mean,
yeah.
we video conferenced with her for the design committee meeting. The first week of the month. Yeah, she's done a lot of work. Right.
Yeah.
Evolving over time based on all the comments she's got from the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had, just to let you know, we had Melissa from the Art Center here for our design committee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And just to hear her input as an art, person, and she was real happy with the way things are going. She sees this as a piece of art, it's a piece of art. It's not, we've got a little history in it, but it needs to still be read as an art piece.
Yeah.
That's why she liked the colors and all that. I think she had worked in, Brit had worked in some greens and golds for Southeastern and some of the colors for Hammond and so on and so on, so.
All right, any public input?
No.
Train off in it, I mean, it looks very realistic. I mean, that the kind of train that went through that.
Yeah. What was the train that came through? What'd you say
It
again?
was the 1117. It was the one that was going through to the Panama Canal or something like that.
I can actually say that it was my great grandfather that was the engineer, so that's why I know it was the 1117. Because I have a picture of him by. I don't want my name brought up or anything. I didn't do it for that, but whenever I looked the other night when we had it in regional arts, I said, "Can they change the number?" And they were like, "Yeah," because I said I know that the 1117 ran from New Orleans through Hammond because my grandfather did it.
That's cool.
So they
Yeah.
said, "Oh yeah," so that's why it was Panama Limited.
Cool.
Okay.
Pretty much like that.
And it looked like that. I can bring y'all a picture if you want to see it.
That's what you were asking. You were asking if it was the right model engine.
No, I didn't ask.
I may have
Ralph did,
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, it came from, I was like, I know it came from this side of it. Okay.
our other honorary board member.
Right. All right.
But even in our logo, it's the same type of train from. I mean.
This is A. Wait.
No, this.
B?
They're backwards. Yeah. A was.
That's
yeah,
B.
That's B.
Yeah.
So on A, is it, I don't know, it's just me, but it's odd that the train tracks are going down the middle of the street and the trains over there. Right. I
Well, that's,
I didn't even think about that.
well, she talked about taking the roots down the street instead of the trees, instead of the tracks. So I think that's maybe where she's leaning. We told her not to be quite so literal.
And
We went to Hammond Regional Arts Center the night for a public to come by and do it. Not many people showed up, so I was looking at things, I saw something, I think that's why the tracks are in there. But I felt like the street was just too plain, and I felt like we needed some texture on the street just to make it part, it felt like it was not part of the
Yeah.
park, you know? So
Yeah.
I see now she's got some color in there, some reflections. I don't necessarily agree, I don't like the track either down the middle of the street.
Well, I did like the track until Jessica ruined it for me.
I know. But I
So,
like the idea of,
Thinking like the trains over there.
yeah, of extending the roots though, so that like the roots kind of, I like
And that's
that.
in Hammond.
right, is it like right there at the depot, pretty
So I
much?
just wanted y'all to see
Yeah.
that's what it
Yeah.
can look like.
Yeah, so I
cool.
did like, thanks, Jessica.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, Cassie, I don't know who speaks to her, but I do like when they had the cafe sign, because I think that does, if anything, when somebody thinks of downtown Hammond, when they see the old neon signs that used to be lit up, I like keeping that included. I don't know who gives her the,
I know we've asked her to kind of keep it abstract.
yeah.
But yeah, we can get her any public input that
I like
comes
the
up.
idea of the
That's
depot
public
too,
input.
because that's such a
Yeah.
iconic.
I think she's gonna keep
Infrastructure.
working.
Yeah, that's good.
Schemes, so we need to let her know that maybe roots instead of railroad tracks would be good.
My only other thing, and I think this is maybe what you're talking about, a metal or something, because it's on both of them. I don't know if I'm not seeing it right, but there's like to the right of the train tracks, there's something that goes up.
Yeah, it's the front, that's what, there was
And then
that,
the
I
same
think,
thing on the other one,
it's the
but
awning. I think it's the awning, yeah, it was on the other one, there was an
I
awning,
followed that right.
there was an awning that was,
And I don't want to have to, nobody should have to go, oh, that's what this is. Like,
yeah.
you shouldn't have to.
No, I was gonna say, but I think it's the awning that was torn up for a while, wasn't it?
No,
No, I don't think so.
That's what I thought, that's what I was asking about, yes, that's the thing, but I think.
Go to the other one.
Yeah, see how it jets up?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's-
reversed, but I'm pretty sure that's the awning that's torn, because it was,
Oh, the
remember when it
cafe
was
sign is in
split?
this one, John.
Yeah, that's why I like the
Okay.
cafe sign and that.
Yeah, I like the cafe sign too. All right.
Yeah, I'm recording this, so.
All right.
Well, I do want to say,
If that's a damaged front or awning though, we want that out. We want it all looking in good repair, I think.
I will let her know.
Even if it isn't, it doesn't hit visually, I don't know what it is. You can't.
I think it's, I really think that's what it is. That's what was bothering me. I think it's that front, because remember when it was torn up a little bit? I don't know if she had got a picture of it or something that from
I
some
don't think
time
that's
period
what it
when it was in there, or it was after the hurricane?
Yeah, I still don't know.
All right.
One, I guess, item that, when we initially approved Brit as the artist, we would have two concepts that would then go to public vote. So we'll provide this feedback to her, and then I think where we are in the timeline with the feedback that she's gotten so far, we would be looking at mostly completed 2 versions of concepts by the August design committee meeting.
April.
April. What did I say?
August.
August, okay. For the April design committee meeting. So, so obviously we've got some more work to do, but if there's any like glaring items that we want to see included, any very key features, that we haven't given to her so far, well, the timeline that we've decided, we're kind of running at the end of the input session.
So these two, I'm about to offend some artists, I guess, but I don't consider these drastically different. These are the two alternatives that, like, this is what we would consider 2 alternatives to choose from?
I think the coloring is a little bit different in the way she's representing some of the florals, and obviously the train track. So they're very similar, but I think the 2 different concepts that we're requesting from her, we're not spelling out necessarily how different those need to be. So
I'm not even saying that's necessarily wrong, but I do
Right.
think these 2 are very,
I think that
Similar.
the 2 concepts we get are going to be similar. There's going to be subtle differences between them, probably. She's, we did not ask her to have vastly different options.
Things have changed quite drastically since our initial concept.
Yeah.
We started getting all these public comments that led her to these.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not really going in any particular direction with that question.
You would
It's-
prefer two different,
Well,
looking-
well, you're not gonna have two completely, like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
doing two art, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I realize that too, but I'm just, I don't know, I guess it was more of what was her kind of instruction and question, where does she think she's going with it? I see both of these as being very similar, and I don't know that that's a bad thing, I don't know that anything needs to be different about it, but I wouldn't consider these two options necessarily, I consider them two variations on the same, it's more kind of how I'm seeing them, that's how I'm, you know,
and after I look at that little issue you see there with what you might say is this piece of metal, I think that's a transition from the buildings into the train, because it's on opposite sides in each picture. But I think it's some sort of shaping, transitioning from train to buildings or buildings to trains or in some way. Just the way I look at lines, and I could be completely
I can reiterate that to her.
yeah.
Well,
Tell her that was the main.
we need a legend and a definite,
Yeah.
And like you said, the next
That'd
two
be helpful.
versions,
Reason. Let's
there
find
will be
out.
two further defined versions at the design committee meeting on, what is that first?
April 7th,
That's the third.
Thursday at 9 a.m. April 7th.
Yes, April 7th at 9 a.m., if anybody wants to come see them and have input.
all right. Any other discussion on this hero concept before we move on? All right, DDD building update closeout.
So I just want to provide some update from our discussion at our last meeting about the office renovation. The storage closet door has been resolved. I think we can all laugh about that one maybe now that we're on the other end of it, but
Closet saga.
yes. So I will say the last remaining item is that it does need to have a final coat of paint, and the trim work, the baseboard needs to be caulked in place, but the door has been patched, and it is mostly done, drywall, sanded, textured. It just needs a final coat of paint. And we did move into the office last 2 Fridays ago now. We got internet sort of quickly, that was also a drawn-out process. They thought the fiber optic was cut underneath the brickwork that had been poured and installed, so they actually had to cut and bring up some of the brick to get that resolved. But it was easy with Roy and the contractor and Vexus working together.
Was it cut or not?
It was cut.
Just curious.
So all of that together, we've moved into the office and are adjusting to get things where they need to go. Still trying to keep that closet open right now because he still needs to go in and paint. But we are there. I posted on social and that we are there, and people know that we're there. We've had a few people walking in and stopping in. I did have the person working underlay, Troy. He was the person who was patching the wall. While he was there, I had him take care of a few other items, like some of the bathroom signage had fallen. I had them caulk that up, or using a construction adhesive for that. So a few other little things like touching up some of the paint on the front of the building. I did have light bulbs on his list to install those in the back. The front can lights do have light bulbs. We're still waiting on a cabinet to get delivered. It's a full height cabinet that goes in our workroom. And we did not have exterior signage, I guess a part of the scope of work. A sign that was there was painted on the building, and that has since been painted over, obviously, because we got a fresh coat of paint. So when I inquired with Tom and asked about just address signage, we don't have that right now. We have no signifier in our building that we are the DDD. We did not save any of the window clings that were previously in the building before we left. So I spoke to Chelsea about this, and we'll just have to be prepared to purchase some additional signage and to signify that we're the VED.
Right, there was no signage in the design package at all.
And Tom said the rendering that said to West Thomas was for artistic depiction.
Yeah, there was nothing in there that called out for the contractor to provide, install anything on signage. So there was nothing for them to have bid on.
The wayfinding sign, well, I will get to that. Kim, when we get down to that, maybe we can talk about, I don't know if there's a way to incorporate, I don't remember what the status of the wayfinding signs are, but maybe we can get some signage.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I just want to add one more point. When the contractor filed February 17th with the clerk of court, and they have an open, 45 days, it has to be open. So I counted, and I think the earliest that we would be able to see that clear lien certificate would be the first week of April. So we would expect to be able to have the final pay application and retainage on the agenda for April. Just keeping that on everyone's radar.
Cool.
Who would that be the design committee that's kind of like in charge of kind of a post-mortem on a project like the building?
What do you mean?
Like how it was managed, how it could be managed better, how it,
Well, last board meeting, we voted to have somebody from the design committee assigned to any future building projects. So that was sort of our remedy for future projects, to make sure one person is involved in the meeting process all along.
but in terms of doing like a little assessment as to an evaluation of this one, can y'all do that? Will y'all do that?
Our architect is on the design committee, so we can attempt to do that, sure.
I don't know who else would do it besides the design committee.
It's, he's aware
Yeah.
of the issues.
I mean, this isn't just, I mean, I just mean I would like, it's really one of, I mean, it's one of the first projects that, well, any of the staff have done as part of the DDD, and, I mean, when I got on it, I think there was a project in the park, Kate Square going on, but I mean, I think, you know, every experience is a learning experience, and I would like to see, I wouldn't like us to just move on to the next thing. I'd kind of like to.
He has been, put on the spot at the design committee meeting, where we have asked questions about where are things and why aren't things, and so everybody on the committee is aware, and again, that's why we took that step, which I think is a very positive step, to have one person from the design committee follow any future project from beginning to end and be able to ask the questions all along instead of at the end.
Well, I still would like some postmortem done on this project, so, I don't know, do we need to?
Like a one-page written summary, like here's.
Something, yeah, like, you know, here's what the project was, here's what happened, here's what we did, here's what we learned for next time.
The picture said there's a number 2 there, but that wasn't part of the markup, or just like little takeaways like.
Yeah, I don't know how, I don't intend it to be like a, you know, Monday morning quarterback nitpick everything, but I would like some, it was a project that we all took, you know, it was, as a board, it was the first time we've been involved in together, how that works with the staff and everybody, and, you know, we're talking about the feed and seed store, we're talking about this project, we're talking about that project and all this other stuff. I don't think we should just, okay, we're finished with that one, push that over there and forget about it. You know, like, I just think it needs a little more. It's not meant to be, it's not even a criticism specifically. It's just, I think an assessment of the whole thing needs to be done, how it was handled, what was done right, what was done wrong, what could be done better.
We can definitely do that. I brought up many questions and points during the whole process and everything. Every time I did, somebody from this board had something negative to say about the questions I asked. But I'll be happy to post that to the committee and do it. So.
All right, are you done with the closeout? Okay. Design committee report. Segueing right into you.
We've talked about most of the meeting. Roy brought up the discussion with Brit, where we discussed earlier versions of the two concepts that you saw tonight. We also had discussion on a project at the Old Guy's Grocery. The owner came in and presented some information, but it did not, he had been at a prior meeting and there was a list of information that was requested, and he brought partial answers or partial materials to address those issues. So we likely will have a special design committee meeting in order to review if he has everything in place to discuss. I think the biggest question that the committee had is that rendering that he presented did not relate back to the plans and the elevations that were part of the construction documents. So we just want to make sure that what's being presented, the image that's being presented for what's being built is what's being built. So we just asked for some further information, and I believe the city of Hammond is also asking for some more information on the construction drawings as well. So it's not just us. We also had a submittal for, what is the name of the, For Her Beauty?
For Her
For
Beauty.
Beauty?
Yeah.
So when somebody repaints a building, they don't have to get a permit to do that. It is supposed to come before the design committee for approval, but that doesn't always happen. He did it.
Dollar store building.
Yeah, it was a family dollar.
Dollar. So he did agree to, actually, the signage that was presented falls, it met the requirements of the signage. So he did agree to make some changes to paint color.
And he did.
And he did. I haven't been by to see, so he,
Painted the pink gray.
Okay, I thought it looked different. Like, I thought it was toned down. Like, when I went that way for lunch today, I was like, I feel like it's not as.
he had it trimmed in pink, and anyway. But he was very nice, and he agreed to make those changes. So I think that's all we had on our meeting that day. We had updates on the railroad part, but Roy's already been through all that.
And then we teleconference with Brit, which we've already discussed.
Right.
Is Guys in the historical district too, or is it just?
No, it actually faces, the address is Kate Street, so it doesn't actually face the historic district, so they don't have to comply
Sneak
or
Sarah?
present to historic.
Sarah provided a letter to the owner of the building. The 911 address does not face the historic district, so it therefore does not need to go before the historic district for any approval. And so I think this is kind of a unique project or architectural review for the design committee to look at, because it is a historic building, but typically most of those historic buildings wind up getting reviewed by the historic district. So it's been a learning process. You know, typically the architectural reviews are new construction or a very more simple renovation. It's not, you know, a total redevelopment of a historic building. So I think we've learned from that process.
Address thing, just so y'all can understand too completely what that, we're actually trying to revise the UDC, the statute that would make that inclusive. Originally, whenever whenever it was originally written, it was written with the term facing, the property facing. And the original intent of it was that anything facing the district is included in the district. So that say if the line were in that case on
Robert.
Robert Street, then that property would be included in the historic district. But because the term facing was the one that was chosen for that years ago, it was challenged. And therefore, and it was never rewritten. We were trying to get it rewritten, and it has to be approved by the city council. They requested a few more steps that we take as far as, I mean, we've reached out to all the property owners multiple times, but they want more. So we're trying to do check all the boxes. And that would not, what we consider like a jack-o'-lanterning of the perimeter. So that you may have properties all adjacent that touch the boundaries of the historic district, but if the 911 or assessed address is not facing the district, then that one would be not considered having to be in compliance. So the whole goal is to get it contiguous, to where if you're standing on the sidewalk on a corner and you turn around like this, everything that you're seeing right there would be, and it's not to make more regulation, it's really to make it more consistent. So, for consistency. Yes, no problem.
All right. Wayfinding signs.
So you'll see the final wayfinding signage. This has been a saga as well.
Yes, I feel like, and it was like when I saw that on the agenda again, I was like, I feel like this was on here when I first started on the DDG,
Yes.
and it's
So,
still here.
It's taken a while to get to this stage. I did have to go resubmit to the Historic District for approval again since our certificate of appropriateness had expired. They approved this today, and I called ASI, and they are starting production. We had already even paid 50% deposit and everything, so they're starting production on these. So these will be installed at the wayfinding, the signage that's in front of our office. There's one by the train depot, and then the taller, skinnier ones that you see that don't have the map are on the corner of Thomas and Railroad, and then on the corner of Kate and Thomas. So those will be freshened up. They'll look really nice, and with the building being done and Railroad Park being done, these will be a good sort of component to all of that. It's all inclusive with the vinyl, the acrylic, the mounting, so they'll fabricate and install, and are looking forward to those being ready sometime in April.
All right. Any questions, comments?
And the reason why we edited them is because we actually included Railroad Park in these. We had not had Railroad Park included, but since we had a logo, we're like, we're already editing them, might as well just throw that in there. So that was the only change that had to be approved.
So there was good, there was a plus, there's silver lining to the saga.
Yes, it was plus.
Okay. All right, any other comments on the wayfinding signs? All
And
right.
to address your comment about the window clings for the DDD office, we went through Sign World for those. So, we can look at getting quotes from ASI or Sign World, wherever we get, these vinyl graphics done, and see what that is to put some signage in the office.
All right.
Sign World's probably going to be your better price. Yeah,
They did all the window clings previously.
yeah.
All right. Great American Main Street Award, 2022 semifinalist.
Yes, so I just want to put it on everyone's radar. That was announced Mardi Gras Day, which was not the best for us in terms of airtime, but Hammond is a Great American Main Street Award semifinalist for this year, and finalists for the award will be announced at the conference in Richmond, Virginia in May. So we're crossing our fingers that we finally get finalists and get to win the award. It's a huge accomplishment and designation in the Main Street Network. There are over 1,600 programs through the Main Street Network, so to be distinguished as one of the semifinalists is great. To be a winner would be even more great, to show the 40 years of commitment that the Historic District, DDD, active community members like the ones that are here to play the role in the Hammond that we see today. So pat yourselves on the back.
All right. Organizational assessment and compensation study by SSA Consultants. This has my name by it, okay.
That's what you.
All right, so as we're gonna get to later on, in this meeting, it's Michelle's annual anniversary, I guess. And, as well as, consideration for promoting her to the assistant director position. And discussing that with, Evan and Elsbeth, we were the committee, I guess, that met with her. It kind of occurred to us that, you know, in terms of what roles or, you know, what duties go to who and what type of staffing and compensation and everything we need to be done, it might be time to kind of make an assessment. This is the consultant that the city uses. I don't think we actually have money budgeted for this, so we'd have to make, I don't think this is to be approved tonight. It can be approved tonight anyway, like to actually go forward. But it does give us, y'all, some idea of what that would involve and at what cost and what they can do. And so if there is any interest in going forward with it, we need to make sure we, you know, for the next meeting, we would have to move some money around, I guess, and whatever we need. There's no consultant fee that has this kind of money in it, is there? Budget?
I mean, we have contract services, but that is just allocated for our CPA, so it's
Not enough to cover
not
this.
enough to cover this.
Who is SSA Consultants?
So, did he send me his little, I didn't grab his CV.
It just says SSA.
Where's the,
It's in the back tab, SSA. Right there.
So, I don't actually, so to some extent, there's a brochure, I'll get it and find it. So, what I know about them is that this was the consultant that Lacey had said the city uses for their compensation studies and things like that. I don't know, did you attach that email I had?
Didn't print out the email.
Okay. I think I have a little brochure, CV, whatever you want to call it, about who they are and what they do. And I can send a, well, actually, it's a little report that they've done before, so.
Their website up.
That's good too. But they do compensate, they do, well, they're a consultant, oddly enough, but,
They do studies in terms of compensation studies. They provide assistance regarding putting together job descriptions and organizational structures and things like that in companies.
And, yeah, and one of the reasons we discussed doing this at the, we met with, Evan and Frank and I met with Michelle, was because with Katie leaving, you know, some of the job responsibilities would need to be rerouted. So we kind of, you know, obviously, Michelle is the assistant director, previously was hired to do a lot of the communications, the marketing, all that. That's not really Michelle's wheelhouse. And then she also has expressed, you know, these are some of the things that they did kind of collectively as a group. And then some of the things they need more help with, like we talked about the last board meeting, administrative duties, things like that. So I think it'd actually be helpful to get some, you know, an outside consultant who does these kind of things, kind of tell us what would be the most efficient way for us to help the staff on job duties. And
I would say too, you know, Chelsea and I had discussed, you know, we're 3-time staff with Katie, Chelsea, and I, and we talked about however the board wanted to structure it. You know, we're thinking about also that part-time position, maybe being broken into 2 part-time positions. So one person doing the administrative tasks and another person doing the sort of communication manager duties. So I guess, you know, we have some ideas, I guess, of how we could see those duties distributed in terms of, you know, the drawbacks from those part-time positions, maybe increased turnover. So I guess to the extent of looking for outside consultation, I guess, on this, I guess that would be a board decision. I would say, you know, we would love to, if this is the route that the board wants to go in, obviously talking with the consultant to see too, like, we know that these are our needs as staff, and I guess them putting something together that would accurately maybe reflect our needs, but maybe define our needs further so that we can have that maybe job description cleaned up a bit more, and are assuring that we're able to price, the part-time position or the full-time position where it needs to be for it to be competitive. So,
And I think also kind of right-sizing our staff and all too. I mean, we had three full-time positions. We just kind of, I don't know if that's right or not. It seems like they need more administrative staff or assistants than we've given them. And maybe not as much, I don't know what you want to call it, executive staff or whatever. But, so anyway, I think that's one of the other things too. And so basically, here's some information we have. If there's somebody, I'm not married to these people, I don't care. These were the people I knew of. If there's somebody else you want us to get a price for, or quote from, or proposal from, let Michelle know or me. And, be thinking about this, because if we go this route, this is the kind of, I assume this is going to be the ballpark and what we're talking about in cost and whatnot.
okay.
And I'll try to get, like I said, I think I actually have like a CV or something. I'll circulate that to everybody too in the meantime. And if you have any questions about him, let me know. I mean, I could probably get him to do a Zoom thing in for the next meeting also if.
They do all the work for the Louisiana Banking Association. So I'm not endorsing him, but I mean, he's well known.
All right. Staff report.
So you'll find the staff report at the end of your binder. Already talked about moving, so I won't go over that. I did talk to Chelsea, and her return to work date is May 2nd. That's the first Monday in May. The advisory committee, Evan, Frank, and Elsbeth asked me to get that date. So she'll be returning on May 2nd. Just some upcoming dates that I'll be, with our Main Street accreditation and our requirements for that I'll be taking over. Since Chelsea is still away in April, the assistant director of the statewide network will be coming to Hammond. May pop into some of your offices if you're available, maybe so y'all can meet her, and coordinating her to meet with the mayor. I may not have time to meet with her and the mayor, but she's a great resource and is looking to provide a bit more hands-on technical assistance to the state, the communities that we have in Louisiana for Main Street. Her name is Amanda Lantana, if any of you are familiar with her. I'll be doing our quarterly report that's due April 15th. On April 22nd, required attendance to the LA Preservation Conference, which will be in Monroe. So the office will need to be closed most likely, or have the interns kind of handle things, kind of whatever direction you want to give me on that one. I did want to
It sounds like
mention-
letting the mice run the cat, or whatever you call it, the saying is.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have one of them here. Tiffany's actually here, so.
Sorry, mouse.
When I was out of town for last week, I just closed the office Monday and Tuesday. I don't have this on here, but I did have an interview with a temp administrative assistant on Friday. It did not go as planned. And I've only received one resume from the temp agency that the city uses, which is Advantage Resourcing. So I conducted an interview with her, and I just think transportation reliability would kind of be an issue. She lives in Folsom and was 30 minutes late to the interview.
Don't get too specific.
Okay.
Just-
But
Didn't go well.
Didn't go well.
We're not
So-
hiring her.
and I also think, if by the time I maybe get her trained to all the duties
him.
that she needs to do,
I think she said she.
3 weeks, and then I'd only have maybe 3 weeks until Chelsea gets back. So just think for time's sake and maybe saving some of our budget too, so that we're able to hire the people that we need. I can manage with myself and the interns for the time being.
If you get anybody in the meantime, go ahead and interview them, though. I mean,
Yes, I
it's
will.
not.
I've only received one resume, so, and I interviewed them. So, just an update too with the Main Street Now conference. Like I said, that's when the finalists for GAMSA would be announced. That's May 16th to the 18th. The outdoor kitchen, I met with Ryan Hagler, who was previous executive chef for 113. He's also with Candlestick Bakery, farmers market vendor. So he's experienced in pop-ups and kind of, kitchen equipment, supplies, and what have you. So he's working on creating a list that we can purchase with that grant that we have through LSU Ag Center for the outdoor kitchen. All the equipment would be like movable.
Is that the guy from South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yes, he's from South Carolina. And then so we are working on sort of leveraging a partnership with ALAC Culinary to get them involved. Ideally, this outdoor kitchen would be useful for the pop-up dinners that we host at the Feed and Seed, Hammond Table, and healthy food demonstrations incorporating foods from the garden. So there's a lot of opportunity there with this grant. The Farmers Market Committee will meet next week. I'm working with Southeastern marketing class to develop some surveys on the market location. So as Railroad Park is sort of coming back online, we've got some conversations to have about, where the market will live. So they're assisting me with developing a survey. They'll also do focus groups with vendors and customers, and an in-depth interview with me as a part of their class requirement. So it's a good opportunity for us to use that information to our advantage. And then Arts in Bloom is taking place the first weekend of April. They've got a few other activities planned, but they will have an art and flower market at the farmers market in coordination with our farmers market on April the 2nd. And then we have community garden work days this Saturday, March 19th, and then April 16th.
What's the biggest argument for not keeping it, or complaint, or whatever, about just keeping it where it is right now? Because I've seen, it looks to me like bigger crowds. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't count anybody, but.
Restrooms and the lack of infrastructure.
Like what kind of infrastructure?
Restrooms and running
Solid.
water.
Solid ground. But prior, we didn't really have a restroom.
They did use the restroom in the office.
The office
That was
was
open to
open
the
and they
public
used
and
it.
vendors.
The infamous restroom situation.
I would include the lessor in the interviews they do. If they're interviewing all these parties about I would include the lessor.
So who do you mean?
In the farmer's market, the public and vendor survey for location feedback, I would just include the lessor. And
Like, let them know the
and
results of the feedback?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he
The
seems
building
to
owner,
have-
the property owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, to distribute that.
Okay.
That's my report.
Thank you. All right. Community programming manager evaluation yearly increase and community programming manager promotion to assistant. I wonder if we can we just take these as one? Do you really?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to enter into executive session two separate times. I think
all
we
right.
can do it.
Somebody make a, does anybody want to make a motion to combine items 8
Yeah,
and 9?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to combine items 8 and 9 into one agenda item.
I'll second.
John Daniel second.
Yes.
Frank DiVittorio.
Yes.
John Daniel Gayran.
Yes.
John Exnicious. Elizabeth Hollywood.
Yes.
Cassie Reagan.
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
Brian Vaughn.
And Michelle, I know you sent us, we did see that ahead of time. I should have caught it before,
Yeah, I
so that's not your
didn't
problem.
know.
Yeah, no.
No,
so no
I actually don't
issues.
have, I think it's probably good for it being on the agenda like that, but
Yeah.
I think for our purposes in terms
Right.
of,
Yeah.
we don't need to go in and out, in and out. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, all right. Does anybody want to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Second.
Evan?
Evan.
Okay, Evan.
Frank DiVittorio.
Yes.
John Daniel Gayran.
Yes.
John Exnicious.